Following Episode 9's disappointing run in cinemas, which made just a tiny net profit of $112 million, Lucasfilm began rethinking their strategies, choosing to focus only on Disney Plus shows going forward. This move was decided by the unprecedented success created by The Mandalorian, the streaming service's flagship project. While this move proved smart, Disney's output of content began prioritizing quantity over quality. It quickly became apparent following the show's drop in quality in series such as The Book of Boba Fett,
and Boba Fett,
Obi-Wan Kenobi, and The Mandalorian's third season.
Come! Everyone!
While Ahsoka was certainly flawed, especially in its latter episodes, it truly felt like the first project in a long time to really capture the spirit of Star Wars in the classic tale of good versus evil. Andor, of course, really set the stage for creating a complex, mature story in the Star Wars galaxy. While Lucasfilm has made several missteps in their first 10 years, the future is very bright for what's to come. Listening to a lot of fans' criticisms, a new CCO position was created with George Lucas's protege Dave Filoni taking the reins to help guide all of the studio's upcoming projects. With his massive knowledge of the lore, this is certainly a step in the right direction.
The Force will be with you, always.
The first upcoming project is The Acolyte. The series is set 100 years before the events of The Phantom Menace and details the return of the dark side, presumably the Sith, working in the shadows. The series is written by Leslie Headland, who is best known for Russian Doll and for being Harvey Weinstein's assistant. The series is a mystery thriller with martial arts, which is definitely highlighted in the trailer. Headland has even said that wuxia films were a huge influence. The High Republic time period has never been explored in live action, and will be interesting to see the state of the galaxy before the prequel trilogy. It's been a while since we've seen the Jedi at the height of their power in live action, so I'm sure we'll see some really cool lightsaber action. The two most exciting reveals from the trailer have barely been talked about. At 55 seconds, a Kel Dor Jedi can be seen, which is very likely Plo Koon. His age has never been established in canon, but in Legends, it's said that he's around 250 years old. At the end, a red lightsaber can be seen. Judging by the hilt, I have a very strong feeling this is Darth Plagueis. It would make sense since he and his master Darth Tenebris were active at this time. Also reported to be in the show is Keanu Reeves. And this comes from a very reputable source in Forbes. For years, people have been fan casting him as Darth Revan due to their strong resemblance. While Revan lives thousands of years before the timeline of the show, it's certainly possible it could be a flashback. Even Trinity herself, Carrie-Anne Moss, is in the show too, so we could get another little Matrix reunion, who knows. The re-emergence of the dark side is a really exciting premise for the series, so I'm pretty hyped. Initially planned to release sometime last year, very little is known about John Watts and Christopher Ford's upcoming series Skeleton Crew. The series revolves around a group of 4 kids trying to get safe passage home, who end up on an adventure led by a mysterious Force user played by Jude Law. Also starring in the series is Carrie Condon, who's just great in the Banshees of Inisherin and Better Call Saul, as well as Steve Urkel himself, Jaleel White. The project has been described by Watts as a coming-of-age story inspired by E.T. and Stranger Things. Watts and Ford are great gets. While John Watts is best known for directing Tom Holland's trilogy of Spider-Man films, he and Ford only wrote the first film, which I think is easily the best one. Their writing quality was surely missed in the second and third entries. The nefarious pirate Vane is also set to return to the show too. The most exciting prospect is the directing team, which includes Watts, the Daniels, David Lowery, and Bryce Dallas Howard. With all the talent on board the project, it's easily one of my most anticipated. With the huge saturation in repetitive franchise films and TV, Andor was such a nice breath of fresh air. It is arguably the best Star Wars media in years. The series allowed for a more mature tone. Some have criticized it for not feeling enough like Star Wars due to a lack of the Force and lightsabers.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm serious. I know.
Stop.
but is by far the most Star Wars-y thing in years. It really harkens back to the underdog nature first explored in the original trilogy, but with heavier political themes. Season 2 of the show will take us all the way up to the start of Rogue One, so it's a good chance many characters will sadly die. Something I'm definitely not ready for. Luthen's epic monologue will undoubtedly come true, as he most likely won't live to be part of the events of the original trilogy.
I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. So what do I sacrifice? Everything!
That's one hell of a speech, fellas.
Andor proved that even a world as goofy as Star Wars
Are you carrying spice?
can tell extremely nuanced and mature stories. Season 2 is set to release later this year or early 2025. Announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023 was a new slate of films. The releases have since shifted slightly, but releasing first on May 22, 2026 is The Mandalorian and Grogu. Originally planned to be a 4th season of the show, the project was retooled into Lucasfilm's first new theatrical release since 2019, as the Rey-centric new Jedi Order film fell into production delays. Hopefully this film can justify the two characters reuniting, rather than having Grogu be a glorified background character. With filming set to begin in June of this year, I think it's very likely the release will be moved up to mid or late 2025. Next on the slate is Charmino Beige-Chinoy's New Jedi Order, which will see the return of Daisy Ridley as Rey, teaching a new generation of Jedi set 15 years after the events of the sequels. One thing I really gotta mention is the misinformation being spread from this out-of-context clip of Beige-Chinoy.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable.
As an Oscar-winning filmmaker, I think it's really insulting how many people are undermining her by saying she's a diversity hire or going to make the movie woke. The quote of making men uncomfortable is in regards on how women are abused and treated as second-class citizens in Pakistan, and how these men need to understand and face the repercussions of what they're doing. I mean, to classify that as talking about Star Wars without even understanding is frankly ridiculous. Whatever. Written by Peaky Blinders creator and head writer Stephen Knight, I have really high hopes for this project. New Jedi Order has the opportunity to really flesh out Rey as a character, as her characterization was a huge point of criticism in the sequel trilogy. Though I'd completely understand he may not want to come back given how he was treated, I'd really love to see John Boyega as Finn again. This movie could right those wrongs and finally have him be the Jedi he was originally planned to be. The film is set to release December 2026. James Mangold has continuously proved to be one of the best working filmmakers. From projects like Walk the Line to Logan and Ford vs. Ferrari, he has proven to be extremely versatile, able to work with any genre. While his indie film had a really poor box office return, I think he still gave the character a brilliant farewell and delivered some really fun action. His Star Wars project, Dawn of the Jedi, has been characterized by him as a biblical epic like the Ten Commandments, set 25,000 years before Episode 1. Co-writing the film is Beau Willimon, which is just awesome. Willimon was the developer and showrunner for House of Cards.
I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately.
As well as writing the Narkina 5 arc of Andor, and of course the iconic Luthen Rael monologue.
Everything!
Many comics have explored the origins of the Jedi, but to see it in action on the big screen is a super exciting prospect. The film will hit screens May 2027, following Mangold's work on his Bob Dylan biopic and The Swamp Thing for DCEU. While this project was initially rumored to release May 2026, that spot has now been taken by The Mandalorian and Grogu. Dave Filoni's project is said to be a culmination of all the shows set after Return of the Jedi, in an epic confrontation against the Imperial Remnant. The fight between the New Republic and Thrawn's forces has always been a favorite story of mine and among fans of the expanded universe. While I am really excited for this film, I just hope it isn't an adaptation of Heir of the Empire, both Luke, Leia, Han, and Lando replaced by the Disney Plus characters. The galaxy is so large, and a conflict at this scale should leave enough room for those characters and the beloved original trilogy heroes to both have an important role to play. Of all the Star Wars projects in development, I definitely think this one has the potential to generate the most excitement out of any, and will get the most butts in theaters. It's also an opportunity to make up for the sequels by telling one more story featuring the original three all reunited. Filming will only begin after Ahsoka Season 2 and The Mandalorian film are completed, meaning the December 2027 release slot is most likely reserved for this film. While the 7-year wait between Episode 9 and The Mandalorian and Grogu may feel like an eternity between films, remember, fans patiently waited 16 years between Return of the Jedi and The Phantom Menace, so it could definitely be far worse for us. Also in the pipeline are films from Sean Levy and Taika Waititi, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, and one I think that has the most promise is Lando, set to be written and starring Donald Glover. Glover's resume speaks for itself, but he's proven time and time again to be one of the best creative minds in Hollywood. Atlanta is without a doubt one of the most original and creative works ever made. Star Wars fans have had many gripes with Disney over their treatment of the franchise since 2013, but for once in a long time, it seems they're finally learning from all their mistakes in a bid to give the best entertainment possible. The Force is strong with these projects, and I truly hope all of them are home runs.